Greetings, beloved souls. Happy Thursday to you guys. I hope you guys are having a great week. It is the 30th of July. A lot has happened this past month. I hope you guys have been taking the time to enjoy this monologue about my life story and the traumas that have revealed themselves in new, different, and exciting ways. So I hope you guys have really been taking time to really enjoy my personal journey. But before we get into tonight's topic, as always, a little bit of announcements. So if you guys haven't registered already, there's still a few spots left for next week. Wow, it's next week. Um, Trauma to Treasure live virtual event where I will be going over and sharing with you the traumas and how to deal with them, how to cope with them, how to clear them, and then ending and concluding that 2 hour time together in a group clearing, nourishing session. So the link for that you can see on the screen. Go to hillispre.com, all links, and it will take you to the page with all the links, and just you'll find it there in the space to register. So there's only a few spots left, very limited, and so I hope you guys take the time to nurture yourselves, because that's what this is for. That's what the intention behind this Trauma to Treasure virtual event is for. So take time and love yourselves. But tonight is a combination of everything that we've been talking about over the past 4 weeks. And it's interesting because this particular topic wasn't planned. It came to me in the space of in the meditation. And actually, at the end of a meditation, where I was sitting in a position that wasn't quite comfortable, and I had to find comfort in the discomfort. So tonight, that's what we are going to focus on, is having comfort in the discomfort. So I want to hear from some of you guys who are watching now. I want to know, what were some of the moments that you had to find comfort in being uncomfortable, because that's what trauma is. Trauma is about finding comfort in the discomfort. And how this starts is simply by understanding the trauma and the trigger of that, the catalyst of the space. And so, what trauma is and what happens when we have this catalytic event, this traumatic event in our lives, we create a separate personality that keeps us safe and protected. We create this personality that is allowing for us to keep the inner child at peace, to keep the child at joy, to keep the child in this protective bubble, if you will. And that's the space of comfort. That's the space of ease. That's the space of joy. And that's how we find one space, one level of comfort in the space that isn't so comfortable. And in the space of discomfort and in the space of creating this separate personality, we disassociate from ourselves. We disassociate from our environment. We disassociate from friends, family. We disassociate from everything, because when we have catalytic event, this catalytic event then guides us into the space of really understanding who we are, what we are, and what is safe. And that's key in understanding trauma and how the personalities begin to create themselves. It is in the space of keeping us safe until we are ready to deal with what we want to deal with at an emotional level. And each emotional level, whether if it's anger or fear or just feeling lost, it is in these spaces that we search for something in our confusion. In the space of disassociation, we are searching for something. something to attach to, something to connect with, something that's going to keep the child safe. Because most traumatic events, catalytic events, occur when we are children. Some occur when we are adolescents, and they are often repeated as adults through a pattern, through a cycle that keeps us comfortable, that keeps us safe, that keep things predictable. And this is how we move through life. We move through our life through our own predictability. We move through our life through our own patterns and recognitions until we get so fed up and so done and over it that we are wanting something more, something different. I'm going to shake things up. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do something that I've never done before. We do that. I've done it. But yet, we go back to the same cycles because it's safe, it's predictable. We know what to expect, you know? So, what have you guys experienced in the space of keeping yourselves safe and keeping yourselves in the space of being predictable and having an environment that you can control? Because that's what it comes down to. When we live in trauma, when we have experienced trauma, we want to take control. We want to take over what we can, things that are inside our control, whether if it's our physical body by working out or regulating what we eat or trying to regulate how emotional we get. We can appear as robots and don't have emotions and just don't care, but deep down inside, we really do. What else is it that we are looking to control in our lives so that we can say that this would never, ever, ever happen to me again? But yet, it shows up in other ways. It shows up in spaces that can be least expected. And it's through these predictable patterns. And it is in the space of where I have to keep myself safe, keep myself away from harm so that way no one can hurt me again, whether if it's physical or emotional. It is in this space of revel. It's in this space that opens up and somehow keeps us in the same container. And it's this container where everything is predictable, everything is safe. But yet, when we allow ourselves to step outside of that, we are very cautious. And in this space of being cautious, we experience other emotions and have the other experiences that are overwhelming. But yet, somewhere deep inside, there's a space of trust. Often more than usual, with the space of trust brings the commitment for change. And that is what's important to remember. When you commit yourself to change, you begin to break the cycles. You begin to recognize the patterns. You begin to become self aware. You become your own observer. And this is beautiful when it happens. It opens up like a flower, you know, that has been nurtured for years. These uh, special flowers that only bloom like once every 5 years or once every 10 years. It's in this space of this bloomage that we begin to recognize self. But it takes a while to get there. And it takes a while for us to recognize who we are because we have forgotten, we don't remember all these things that are in our energetic fields that create this emotional conflict and this emotional upheaval, this upheaval that we experience. But yet, somewhere in all of this chaos, there's trust. And what do you do when you have that trust? What do you guys, and I want to hear from some of you guys, what do you guys do when you begin to feel trust in your life? What do you feel? How do you react? How do you respond to trust, whether you give your own self trust or you receive trust from other people? And that's the beauty of this. When we begin to find comfort in the discomfort, is because we begin to trust ourselves. And when we begin to trust ourselves, we then begin to extend the trust to others. And with this extension of trust, all else begins to open like the flower, you know, this bloom, this mighty flower, the lotus, rose, whatever flower you want to connect to. It just opens up in such a beautiful way that helps you, nurtures you, helps you to see yourself as yourself, your true essence. And so when the catalytic event occurs and the split personality forms, it is keeping you safe until you are ready to experience a new life. And yes, we dip our toe in the pool, we extend ourselves ever so gracefully until we feel safe. Now, this is okay. It's okay to not feel safe in an environment where you should feel safe. You walk into a room crowded with people, mixed energy, mixed souls, and you're filling out the space. So just imagine you are doing the same with yourself. When something gets to be anew with you, you have to take time to fill it out. New emotions or familiar emotions, emotions that you may not want to feel anymore. You begin to question what it is. You begin to question, well, why do I feel this way? Why am I having this experience? And it all goes back to the remembrance. It all goes back to remembering the essence of who you are. Everything goes back to that. Every event, every action, every moment, every thought goes back to the space of remembrance, to remember who we are, a fractal of source energy. And yes, as a collective, we are all on different paths, we are all on different levels, but yet we are the same because that's what a fractal is. A fractal is an arm, a piece of this divine pattern. And just like if you see a mandala, this amazing artwork, just like, or those aren't mandalas behind me, these are other energies behind me. But if you see a mandala and every layer is just like the same as before, or even if you see some of the cymatic patterns, depending on the frequency, they form the same geometric shape at every layer. So this is what we are. We're the same on every layer, but every layer is having a different experience. And that's what I want you all to really begin to understand. It doesn't matter what your personal experience is and you comparing it to someone else. You are having your own experience at your own layer of this grand fractal, this great design. Because this fractal is not two-dimensional, it's not three-dimensional. It is multi-dimensional, this fractal. So in other words, think of the only thing that I can think of that can really truly put this in context of is an octopus. And octopus having 8 legs, I think it has 2 hearts and all the organs. But I saying this because it's identical in every arm, and every arm has function, and every arm does its own thing. So you have this 8-legged or 8 tentacle being, and each one is independent of the main brain. And in that, you have the main brain doing its thing. And then you have each tentacle doing its own thing. So, but yet, they all are part of each other. So just think of it, to put it simply, we're one giant octopus. A gigantic octopus. So just think of it that way. Each one having our own unique experience, with every brain, every layer, every facet of self. Even your auric layers, even your chakra centers, all the energy that you hold and connect with is doing its own thing until you begin to take charge of that energy, until you begin to take charge and become aware of your energy and your emotions until you step into that space, right? And that's what it ultimately comes down to. Who's in charge of your space? Because when you find comfort in the discomfort, no one can tell you otherwise. And that's your power. You can be angry, you can be upset, you can be mad at the world. And sitting in this anger, building resentment, building frustration at the outside world. But for what? So you can feel more important. You're no more important than the person sitting next to you. I'm no more important than you because you're watching this. I'm the same as you. And when we begin to understand the energy that is in our field, in our space, in our bodies, in our emotions, in our thoughts, in all that we are, everything slows down and begins to make sense. And that's key with this. Everything begins to slow down and make sense when you allow for yourself to know that you're no more important than anyone else. Just because you have a house, does that make you more important than a homeless man? Just because you have money to buy food and have food in your belly, does that make you more important than someone that goes without food or hunger or is hungry? When you are living in the space of resentment, does that make you more important because someone else is happy? Or does that make you upset to see someone else who's happy? We get upset and angry at all the systems that are around us, but we forget about the most important system, and that's us. We're a system. We are a vessel connected to a vast system, a vast network of energy that only a few has figured out because we have grown in a place of discomfort. And we found comfort in being uncomfortable with our own energy, with our own thoughts, with our own personality. We've created subsets of our own personality. We've created subsets of our own divinity, our own rights. We have created subsets through these distractions. And these distractions bring us comfort because we don't want to think about our thoughts. We don't want to think about anything that brings us any more discomfort. And it's fine to have distractions. It's great to have distractions. It's great to laugh. It's great to have humor. It's great to enjoy life. But remember, at the core of all of this is you, your path, the way that you are walking, the how you are walking back to you. When you begin to truly realize that there's a lot more to you, to self, you'll understand your purpose, your path, free from distractions. No need to be comfortable in the uncomfortable because the uncomfortable won't exist after this. Once you truly find yourself, all the worry, the anxiety, the fear that has been manifested in this lower density, in this reality, it won't exist anymore. And that is the key. We're talking about moving into fifth density, into the space of unconditional love. You got to love yourself first. And sometimes it is living in that discomfort to find what is comfortable. And then once you realize that you've been lying to yourself, because we often do, you begin to see the truth of the reality that you've created for yourself, the truth of the protection, the truth of all of it. And it hurts because you can say, no way this was me, or no way this happened, no way, no way, no way. But yes, way, so way. Um, and so you acknowledge that, and everything opens up because you acknowledge, and now you begin to see yourself as yourself. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, dear ones, I hope you have enjoyed tonight. It's shorter than usual, which is fine. Um, so until next week, you guys have an amazing week, an amazing time. But remember, if you guys want to sign up for a Trauma to Treasure live event, click on the link that's on the screen, or not click. Click on the link in the description, or you see the link on the screen here. um, and if you guys have any questions or concerns, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat. I will respond accordingly in a timely manner. Until guys, till next week, everyone, remember that everything begins and ends in love.